What's up, YouTube? This is Jamil here, and I think I might go make a ban list discussion, future ban list discussion a little later on. But right now, I'm just going to discuss something else because I have been watching other ban list predictions, and a lot of predictions have included anti-spill fragrance onto the list. They've included that on the list of things to get either limited or banned. And but what's more surprising is the controversy down below in all the comments regarding people believing that anti-spill fragrance needs to stay for the pendulum mechanic or whatnot, and thinking that anti-spill fragrance is like literally the only way to stop pendulums and everything involving pendulums. And it just baffles me because it shows that people really don't know just how vulnerable and just how risky the pendulum mechanic really is. Like, the risk versus reward factor is right where it needs to be, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. Actually, I'll do that right now. Okay. What determines a consistent deck? What determines a good deck? A solid deck for competitiveness. Like I said, 1 is accessibility, 2, consistency. The interactions to the game, all that mess. I've said that about Maxi. And all in all. But what makes monsters really, really good? In today's time, it seems to be one of 3 things. 1, how easy can you summon the thing? 2, can it replace itself? And 3, how much advantage can you net from it? Yeah, can it replace itself, and does it have built-in protection? Now, if you really think about it, I mean, we're going to exclude Magispectors because Magispectors are a whole different breed. But if you think about it, there is no pendulum monsters, period, that have these built-in protections, and none of them replace themselves. And the only ones that replace themselves are currently banned. Plushfire and Damage Juggler were 2 very, very good cards back in early January. And this one floated and replaced itself. This one just replaced itself. And what do you know? Those cards got hit. And so, speaking of which, since we're already on that topic, let's talk about the format back in January before the emergency ban list. Actually, no, before the official ban list, because the emergency ban list, that kind of took care of a lot of that shit, but, okay. What made pendulums, like, have you noticed when they did certain things, the pendulum mechanic just wasn't anywhere near as good? Even when, okay, it's because we had things like, I still think we kind of need these cards because I'm going to explain something to you. How risky is the pendulum mechanic? Well, let's see. Since they have no built-in protection, pendulums are vulnerable to literally any trap card in the game. Any trap card. If you get Solemn Strike, you lose. If you get Warninged, you lose. If you get Bottomless, you lose. Any of the Floodgate kind of trap holes that deal with all monsters as a whole, you lose. Hell, I've had pendulum holes sided against me in Search by Guardian Ariadne. I couldn't pendulum summon, or else I would lose. Quaking and Drowning Air Force, well, those 2 cards are just blowouts to any matchup. But even something like Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute doesn't necessarily solve the problem because you can summon the next turn, but again, based on the format we're in, where it's go in or bust, and your entire board is wiped, you're probably going to lose because you're not going to see them again until the next turn, but by then your opponent's got the resources to beat you. pendulums already can't use that many traps to begin with because they have to flood their deck with pendulum monsters for consistency. And that's the thing people need to realize is that, like, pendulum decks are still very much at risk even without anti-spell because you have all these other traps. Like, literally any trap in the game that can deal with all things, anything that can just negate summons will just shut down the entire deck and in general. And I'm going to explain to you, why the pendulum mechanic is even riskier than other decks. Let's say I'm playing ABC. If I'm playing ABC and I'm going for Buster and my Buster gets negated, yeah, that's going to suck, but at the same time it's fine because I still have 2 cards in hand, I still have 2 cards on field, I still have resources. If I'm playing Paleozoics, for example, yeah, my totally awesome may get negated, but I still have a full field of back row in the back, and I still have access to Ronin totems and all that, so I can still put something up. I still have resources. And let's talk Mermail for instance. We're talking about Mermail, and yeah, your Bahamut Shark may get negated, so you can't summon Totally Awesome, but you still have Abyss Megalo, you still have 4 cards in your hand, you're still good, you still have resources. With the pendulum mechanic, what you see in your hand is what you get, and if you lose it all, then that's it, you lose, because with the pendulum mechanic, you have to commit every last resource in your hand. Well, you don't have to, it depends on what you have, but you have to commit a considerable amount of resources to begin with. I mean, first off, 2 of those cards don't exist because they're scales. So you're now dealing with a 4-card hand, and if one of those cards is, I don't know, like a random spell or a random trap, you only have 3 monsters you could do something with. And if they get, and the summon gets stopped, that's it. The pendulum mechanic itself, yeah, the reward is pretty great if, and only if, the summon actually goes through and nothing happens after your stuff gets summoned. That's literally that is only then and only then is when the rewards kick in. But you have to get past that risk, and every deck besides Mermail obviously is using just trap cards after trap cards after trap cards. Pendulum decks don't even have the space for trap cards. I mean, we have space. We just fitted in space for 3 MSTs, and that's it. But you got all these other traps, you got Rafflesia, you got all that mess. And people are still telling us that anti-spell is the only way to stop the pendulum mechanic when ABCs is running the entire Solemn Brigade, Vanity's Emptiness. Buster by itself can just stop whatever pendulum monster is just a real problem. Paleozoics can do, relatively well until game 2 and they start summoning Denko. So again, Paleozoic players have Forbidden Chalice in your main deck or side deck and keep it in your hand. And it's just the fact that the pendulums, they're just so susceptible to literally anything because they have no built-in protection, they don't float, and they don't replace themselves. And so then you'll have, but back in January, this wasn't a problem, or too much of a problem, because we had things like Wisdom Mind Magician, Wavering Eyes, and Draco Face-Off. These cards, I believe, were actually very necessary due to the fact that, it just fueled your extra deck. These were fuel cards, and it made it to where if your summon got negated or whatnot, you didn't completely get shafted on or completely get the shaft, because you didn't lose absolutely everything you had in one go, and you don't just auto lose. But no other deck just straight up loses to one summon negate. Pendulums do, because you have to commit everything. You gotta commit everything on board to make a play, and that's just how it works. Mermails or any other deck, you can regulate the card you can play. You can regulate your advantage, you can regulate the amount of stuff you want to put on board and still make a play. Pendulums, you can't do that. You're allowed one normal summon, and more times than not, other pendulum cards don't special summon themselves. from the hand, especially pendulums. I don't know why they don't have any other pendulums that can just special themselves. You know, just from the hand or something. Because that's generally the situation you end up with. If you don't have MST and you get the one normal summon, you can't even go for a Dominant Direwolf unless you have another one on board, and no pendulums can special themselves. And so in order to get the monster to make Dominant Direwolf, you have to pendulum summon it. And if you get Solemn, I don't know why I say Solemn, just Time Space Trap Hold, you're done. You got nothing else, you have nothing. Now, again, as we all know, Imperial Order recently got an errata to where during each standby phase, period, yours and your opponent's, you pay 700. Spell effects are negated. That's a little bit more balanced because it's not going to completely just shit all over pendulums. You can still activate your scales. The things I've been saying for the longest time for anti-spell is if you want to keep anti-spell, make a small little adjustment to the pendulum mechanic to where you can now set your scales and then flip them over next turn, because that's literally the only type of quote-unquote spell that you cannot set. And you can set every spell in the game last I checked. That never made sense to me. Why do you not have the option to set pendulum scales? I could never understand that. But whatever. Anti-spell was never made against pendulums because it was made a long time ago. And I guess people just found this quote-unquote life hack against pendulum. This is like you already have traps. Any trap of the game. If your pendulum player is looking at two sets, they're gonna stall. They're gonna try not to commit everything on board because the fear of Solemn Strike or any Solemn card, anything that can negate your summon or spin everything back or banish everything. The fear of that is too real because pendulum players know just how risky going for a pendulum summon really is. But I don't know, people are just too oblivious to that fact because I guess they never had the strikes set. They never really had. They can never really see just how effective traps really are against pendulums, and just how vulnerable pendulums really are. People keep saying, "No, they just keep coming back," but as I clearly show you, all these trap cards that can easily be used to shut them down. And again, you can use these against like any other deck, and well, obviously the drowning is going to be a problem for any deck, but against any other deck, these cards, yeah, they would suck, but you're not going to immediately lose because you still have stuff. Pendulums, you have to commit every last card in your hand, and you're not going to have any cards in your hand after that. Even if you're playing Metal Foes, after you go and got all your Metal Foe effects, someone gets negated, yeah, you may have a combination set, a Metal Foes fusion, a full fusion set, but you don't have any pendulum monsters. You got to start right over from ground zero. So you have to wait a turn, and you have to, let's say you draw a pendulum monster. You have to activate combination and blow it up just to get another pendulum monster so you can actually make a play. And meaning you best forget overlaying because one of the gold drivers is either in the skills or it was one of the ones that got negated. So you have to go for a fusion play, and that's it. Not really much to it. So even in the ideal backfield kind of setup, it's still very, very, very weak. So guys, now that I've shedded some light on just how, don't get me wrong, again, the mechanic is great. It is pretty powerful, but the pendulums are fair. That's what makes them very, very fair, because the risk versus reward, the risks may be higher, or the rewards may be higher due to the fact that, you can make some pretty insane plays if you can get your summon through, but it is also just as risky as it is rewarding, because they are vulnerable to more things, and simply for the fact that you have to put everything on board and hope that it doesn't get answered and hope that it goes through, just in general. I mean, other decks don't really have to worry about it because they're using Twin Twisters. First off, Twin Twisters is still a card, and Twin Twisters can't really be used in pendulum decks because you need every last card in your hand already as is. This is why pendulum decks more times than not opt to go first, because of all the potential threats. They don't have to worry about these threats. I mean, that's the number one. And if you go first and you draw an MST, you now have a 3-card hand, because you have to put 2 in the scales. The 2 cards don't exist, so you have less resources to deal with too. That's the other thing. I mean, you have to commit an auto 2 cards in your hand to scales, so you're not really playing with a full card hand like everyone else is. So they have better opportunities to break pendulum boards. Breaking pendulum boards is like by far the easiest thing to do than to break boards with Dark Law, Totally Awesome, 3-set or ABC, and 2 sets, and you know, all that mess. Paleozoics with 5-card set. When you got a pendulum board and you can see a full fusion, if you know that there's a full fusion now, that's the other thing about Malfoy, you know what they have set because they revealed every last thing they set down. So it's like, first off, you're not in any real danger because you know what they have. Against any other deck, you're going against unknowns. So everything is known, and you can play around it from there, especially if you know the deck really, really well. If you know Malfoys that well, it's not going to be much of a problem. You can deal with the Alk. I mean, you just deal with the Monster. It's just like there's so many things you can do to play around Metal Foes, because you know you don't have to worry about Solemn Strike, Bottomless Trap Hole, Reflasia effects. You don't have to worry about all these negates and banish everything. You don't have to worry about that. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Imperial Order is more overpowered than Anti-Spell? True, Anti-Spell gives you your spell cards still, but you have to set them for a turn, which really slows you down and can really have you lose the game. 2, Imperial Order actually has a cost for both players' turns, so they're both equally as good in a sense for spell cards, but Imperial Order actually costs something, and it doesn't completely just shit all over pendulums, even though Imperial Order is just going to be played in trap heavy decks, or it'll just get replaced by anti-spell anyway. So not only are we not going to have access to spells anyway, but you know, even though we can play the stuff in the scales, we can't even use the pendulum effects. So yeah, there's that. So let me know what you guys think about the pendulum mechanic and anti-spell. Do you really think that anti-spell is that needed when you have any other trap? Just traps in general are the bane of pendulum's existence. And do you think Imperial Order is a little bit better? I think Imperial Order is not balanced per se, but due to its cost, it makes it fine, it makes it okay. So again, last time, let me know what you guys think, and you guys have a good day.